Pikachu received a nerf to his up B on stage, which is actually I think people have really overlooked just how hugely important that is. I really feel like Pikachu is not necessarily that different, but people are just overrating a few things that, while good, I mean, he lost some good offstage moves in exchange for other moves that are also going to be really good offstage. I feel like Pikachu's game plan isn't really going to change much going from like Smash 4 to Ultimate, except he no longer has all the gazillion up B mix-ups, which took what is otherwise a not so great neutral and made it vastly better. It's also worth noting that Pikachu doesn't gain much from a lot of the mechanical changes, and significantly large amounts of characters do in retrospect, which means that even though he's not necessarily losing, a lot of other characters are gaining more. The thing is, it's so easy to jump to bad conclusions early on. I mean, do you remember when Smash 4 first came out and people thought Bowser and Duck Hunt were top tier? And that was before the buffs to those characters. Well, the thing is, Mini Cricket, it's not necessarily that tier lists are important. Rather, it's that tier lists are simply a representation of how things are. If a character is objectively proven to be better than other characters, then they will be high on a tier list because it's just a representation of what's out there. The tier list doesn't make the gameplay important. The gameplay is what makes the tier list important. If that makes sense to you. So essentially, we'll just have to wait and see how the meta shapes up, but I would not trust any of the tier list, tier predictions, or any other things that you're seeing before the game releases. I would trust none of it. Like, I would consider some of the ideas that are being explored in these videos, but I would not trust something like, this character is top tier, this character is bad. Just play who you want at first, and once we've played some time and we actually have some beginning idea of how this game is supposed to be played, maybe then we'll start to see how characters really are. I don't know though. I try not to assume too much, especially since even characters that might end up being really good at the beginning, they might not necessarily stay that way later on as the metagame develops and as patches happen, so I wouldn't take anything that happens at the beginning very seriously. At least not in the context of like character viability. Like, you might get an idea of who good players are or aren't, but that's probably about it. You're like, oh, this guy's doing pretty well. That's probably all you can really say at the beginning. Wait, is Randall bigger? Look at Randall on the side. Is it just me, guys, or did they make him like way bigger? Look at that. He's a big boy. He's been eating his Wheaties ever since Melee. And doing that over like a course of like, how many years? Like 17 or whatever? He's been gaining. Marth to me looks like if Brawl Marth and Melee Marth had a baby, which is both beautiful and terrifying. This character looks like... I could see Marth being one of the best characters, if not the best character in the game out of the box. Wouldn't be surprised at all if that ends up being the case. His dash attack is probably still not the best, but you'll be able to do like run up down tilt, which is the old Melee classic. Dude, running down tilt's in neutral. Just think about that. The rage toggle should help with that too, because if we can just turn off rage, that fixes so much. Just by itself. Like, Smash 4 would be so much better if it didn't have rage. Not even close. I think a decent amount of characters would become a good bit less viable, but in exchange for that, we would just have a game that is just significantly more balanced gameplay in general. Yes, this is true, T4, 100%. It has been confirmed. Essentially, it's a nerf to short hop aerials, and it actually provides a very real functional difference between using short hop aerials versus full hop. This means that there will be situations where, like, a short hop version of a move might not be safe on shield, but a full hop version might be. Which is interesting because short hop aerials are inherently so much better than full hop aerials. So I like that they do this in combination with the damage multiplier as a way of making it to where there's more strategic reason to differentiate between using them. Like, before, full hop aerials were just almost unusable compared to short hop ones, but this difference makes it to where it's a very subtle thing that makes it to where we might want to use full hop aerials on purpose and very purposefully and neutral fairly often, but we'll see, you know? So my inclination towards hazards being on or off, I think for a particular stage list, we should have it either all on or all off. But there might be a possibility of using like rotating seasonal stage lists where some seasons we might use hazards on and some we might use a hazards off. Like for hazards on, we might use like some of the other Battlefield variants like traditional Smashville and who knows what else. But I personally prefer the looks of hazards off centric stage lists. Sure, we would lose regular Smashville, but thing is, even though Smashville is super fun, that stage is not balanced. I'm planning on making a video on stage lists, and I know some people are going to be like, but my Smashville. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I mean, I'm someone that took obvious advantage of it because I play Falcon, so I know how silly that stage is because of all the stuff I've gotten away with on there. In a lot of these cases, what would happen is we wouldn't even have enough other stages to choose from to where we could have a decent stage list without allowing it. So now that for the first time, we have so many potential stages that we don't have to allow stuff like that anymore, why would we? We could have a stage list of just completely neutral, not silly stages for the first time ever that are simultaneously all quite different from each other layout-wise. Black Shadow would be cool. I would want him to not be an Echo Fighter, though. Which, if he is going to get in the game at this point, he actually would not be an Echo Fighter. This is confirmed. Since Nintendo said the DLC characters are new characters. So if we were to get Black Shadow, he would be brand new. So that's cool. Dude, and it's highly likely that new characters that announced at this point are not necessarily old nostalgia picks, unless said characters are getting rebooted in a new game. Because it's realistic if Nintendo's going to make the character... Oh, no! If Nintendo's going to make the character choices, it makes sense for them to choose specifically characters that are going to be like good advertising for upcoming things. So if they put it in like Black Shadow, then we'd also, almost without doubt, end up with a new F-Zero. Check out some Mii Brawler. Oh, Mewtwo looks busted, Archerenix. I remember I was thinking about characters that I thought looked amazing in Ultimate that I just couldn't remember one. Mewtwo's one of them. Mewtwo might be the best character in the game at the start. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Also, do you guys notice that little thing Pikachu does after the back air animation finishes? It's a nice little touch that adds some personality to the move. Like, look. Next time back air happens. Look! Look at that little pose Pikachu does. Right after the back air finishes. I don't really know what to say about the Dark Samus footage I'm seeing. That aerial movement looks almost like Brawl Wario-esque, which is interesting. Not something I really expected to see from this. Like, look at that aerial drift. Oh my god. Look at that. That's insane. That's kind of cool. Also, see, there's that little animation again. Pikachu Libre does the little spin, and then right afterwards is like, ugh. It's a nice little touch. Dark Samus to me just looks like if you had Brawl Wario's movement and you just gave it to Samus. That's weird. I like how unnatural all of Dark Samus's movement looks, though. It really adds to the whole Dark Samus isn't actually a person but an alien created by a Phazon Surge. But thank you guys for supporting this portion of the stream. I'm going to switch over to playing Smash 4 now.